Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another live stream. Thank you so much for everyone who has been waiting for me. And thanks to everyone joining us as and when to another live stream. For everyone new, we have these live streams regularly for the viewers, members, and subscribers of this channel to share their thoughts, views, participate, have a platform. Let's give ourselves a second to make sure everything is up and running before we begin with our topic for tonight. And it looks like we're live. Perfect. Again, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for those who have been waiting, all of our regular viewers, our moderators, everyone. Thank you so much for tuning in regularly. I really appreciate that. I posted a video earlier on. If you haven't watched it before, you can watch it afterwards with regards to the latest updates from Lebanon and Yemen. For those of you who are more interested in things on the ground, really, I will most likely have another video after this live stream to do with important developments on other fronts as well. However, in this live stream, and we will do it as we regularly do, you can obviously share your thoughts, questions, anything important or questions highlighted, please, so I can easily access it after I finish speaking about the topic of tonight, and I will do my best to address all of them, and apologies in advance if I'm unable to. So what I wanted to talk to you about tonight is obviously the ICC. Clearly, someone in Israel is worried. And it's not just the ICC that I wanted to talk to you about, by the way. It's the resignations that are most likely linked to the ICC, regardless of how relevant they are when it comes to Israel. But people are afraid, clearly. And other countries and governments, leaders who supported this genocide are also worried. Don't forget, there was a legal requirement in Britain following the genocide case against Israel, asking everyone, the Met Police asked everyone who has been to Israel and the Palestinian territories who witnessed acts of genocide to come forward. Now, regardless of the fact, you can call it an act, you can call it a move, whatever it is, clearly they're looking for some information. People are worried. Governments are receiving advice. British government had 600 legal advisors telling them that you cannot support Israel because they're committing crimes against humanity. Now, today actually, was published that Blinken was told in Washington that there is no proof to show that Israel is acting within international law. Excuse me, imagine that. There's no proof to show that they're acting within international law. They have a case in the ICJ. And you're telling the man there is no proof to show that he's acting within international. They already established that they're a genocidal state. Are these people delusional or something? Oh, we have no proof that they're acting within. They're proven. It's proven by the world's biggest international court for justice that they're a genocidal state. What more do you want? What more do you want? Do you want someone to kidnap you and take you to Gaza to see the crimes? What do you want exactly to see? It's like, do you think people are stupid? What's wrong with these people? And other internationalists acting like they don't see anything. Oh, we asked them to tone it down. We're not sure if they're using, excessive force. Excessive force. But hey, the same people that, didn't blink an eye when 1 million were killed in Iraq. Nothing. Same people who didn't care about the genocide in Afghanistan. Well, weren't they innocent people too? Nothing. Then they withdraw and the Taliban is back. And nothing happened. 20 years, trillions in taxpayers' money, and they leave to get the people that they supposedly went to take down. Wow. Wow, fascinating. Which leads us to the subject for tonight. And like I said, I will obviously open the space up for you as much as possible with regards to the comments. You can share them from now, really. But I wanted to share with you two things. The first one is an article that was published in the Israeli newspaper Ma'ariv. And the title was, "Will Netanyahu be summoned to The Hague? This is how the effort is being made to prevent the issuance of arrest warrants." So they're trying to counter it. They're trying to get there before the arrest warrants come to play. They're petrified. Clearly something's happening. They're not getting the backing that they used to, and they're petrified. Here's what they said. In Israel, efforts are being made to prevent the issuance of arrest warrants against senior Israeli officials by the International Criminal Court in The Hague. The jurists are preparing the required materials in the diplomatic axis. There is dialogue with the American government. Prime Minister Netanyahu, his office, and the Foreign Ministry, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they coordinate all the actions that are done in several sectors. Clearly, there's more than one front that they're battling on. The jurists are preparing the required materials on the diplomatic axis. There is a lively discussion, mainly with the American government, with the understanding that the Americans cannot cancel the decision to issue arrest warrants. And when it's made, but we'll try to facilitate the court's decision. I love this, facilitate the court's decisions. So what, are the courts compromised? Please tell us if the courts are compromised. If it's all a joke, please let the people know. Facilitate. Facilitate the judges. Wow. According to estimates, the ICC decisions regarding Israel are expected to be made within a few weeks. The ICC is considering basing itself on the precedent of arrest warrants issued against 2 Russian generals. The warrants were issued last March against the commander of Russia's aerospace forces, Sergei Ivanovich Kulibash, and against Viktor Kinolavich Sokolov, an admiral who was commander of the Black Sea Fleet. The 2 senior officials were allegedly responsible for targeted attacks against civilian targets. After the orders were issued, there were estimates that the precedent might be used in the future against Israel as well, against the background of claims that it acted disproportionately in Gaza. Claims that it acted disproportionately. As a reminder, in recent days, Israel has received reports that there is an increased chance of international arrest warrants for senior Israeli officials, including Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, at the Hague Tribunal. The International Court has no policing powers and relies on the countries that have signed the treaty to carry out arrests and extradition procedures. In addition, John McLaughlin, Donald Trump's pollster, claimed today that he conducted political polls for Netanyahu 15 days after October the 7th. At the moment, he said, quote, "Netanyahu is more concerned with the task of winning the war than with the elections." This is what he said. That's number one. This is the first thing that I wanted to share with you. 2, there was another report of Netanyahu saying we will not accept it. Look at how these people behave. Like a mafia, like a cartel. We will not accept it. So that was published in an Israeli website called Srugim, and it was published in Hebrew as well. They said Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is responding, that's yesterday, to the ICC in The Hague, considering issuing international arrest warrants against senior Israeli officials due to their involvement in the war in the Gaza Strip and the treatment of Palestinians during it. Under my leadership, that's Bibi, under my leadership, Israel will never accept any attempt by the International Court in The Hague to undermine its fundamental right to defend itself. Bibi is vicious, Netanyahu said. According to him, he added, the threat against the IDF soldiers and public figures in Israel, the only democracy in the Middle East and the only Jewish state in the world, is scandalous and we will not give in to it. This is what he said. They added later on, Israel will continue until the victory of our just war against the abominable terrorists who seek to destroy us. We will never stop defending ourselves. While the Hague Tribunal's decisions will not affect Israel's actions, they will set a dangerous precedent that threatens the soldiers and public figures of any democracy that is fighting with criminal terrorism and dangerous aggression. That's Bibi for you again. As a reminder, they continued, last Wednesday, News 13 announced that a secret discussion was held in the National Security Headquarters following fear that international arrest warrants would be issued against Prime Minister Netanyahu, Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, and Chief of Staff Herzi Halevi in the coming days. The three figures that I showed you on the thumbnail. According to the suspicion in the MLA, the International Court of Justice in The Hague is expected to issue arrest warrants mainly for that outlines Israeli policy in the war and not against junior officers who are actually on the battlefield. In the secret hearing, it was said that this move, if implemented, is reminiscent of the conduct of the Hague Court against Russia and Putin. Okay? There we go. Oh, and by the way, Bibi Netanyahu, I'm not sure why they didn't state this in this article. He said that they're only doing this against the only democracy in the Middle East and the only Jewish state. Hinting, this anti-Semitic, of course. What's that leading to? Obviously, number one, they're worried. That's number one. The key thing that we establish here is that these people are worried. That's the main thing. Secondly, resignations. When it comes to the resignations, they're also worried. So there was another article. We spoke about Haliva resigning, the head of the Aman, the Military Intelligence Directorate of Israel. It's a very senior position, by the way. Don't undermine it. It's a very important position, the military intelligence. And now there was another article in the Israeli newspaper Ynet that belongs to Yediot Ahronot, one of the biggest, if not the biggest Israeli newspaper, saying that we could see following resignations. They were asking after Haliva, is it Chief of Staff Herzi Halevi? He is also expected to exercise responsibility and resign after failing on October the 7th. Right? They're worried about temporary appointments, by the way. Because if they would resign, and that would be due to the potential arrest warrants, and they do take them into consideration, they forced countries to change policies, by the way, against arrest warrants, like Britain. Tzipi Livni, the Israeli foreign minister at the time, whenever she landed in Britain, an arrest warrant would come. What did Britain do? Not comply with the law, of course. Who complies with the law in terms of governments? No, change the law. Change the law. Doesn't suit us. Come on. We'll give these people, immunity. We'll protect them. We'll protect them from the law. Don't follow the law. Only the powerless and poor will follow the law. People in power, wealthy people, they don't have to follow the law. They change the law. So this is what they did here in Britain. All of a sudden, they started, feeling more relaxed about that. And they also said that the Shin Bet resignation is gonna be close if that continued. Don't forget, there was another resignation from one of the leading commanders in the IDF in the West Bank, Yehuda Fox. That was, by the way, due to other conflicts within the IDF, particularly with the Minister of National Security in Israel having problems with the defense minister and wanting to have more control over the West Bank. And the fight that I spoke with you about yesterday between the Golani Brigade in the IDF and the Netzach Yehuda Brigade that the US supposedly wants to sanction. They want to have sanctions against them. That's where it happened, in the West Bank, between Golani and Netzach Yehuda, or the Eternity of Judea. That's led to his resignation. Now, clearly there's a lot of internal conflicts. And again, I said it many times, but I want to say it again. It's baffling how these things are underreported and underrated and, not being really clearly, and they're not taking so much action against these reports, especially when it comes to the mainstream media. They don't play on about it. If Israel was any other country that the United States doesn't like, or some of these EU states don't like, well, if a cat gets injured in Iran, they'll tell you regime change tomorrow. If a cat is attacked. If a monkey loses a tooth in Iran, they'll tell you they're not protecting animals enough, we should change the regime. But when it comes to Israel, they can kill 30, 40, 50,000 people, nothing, it's okay. And talk about protests as well. Look at the US now. Colleges, campuses, university, biggest university in the US, out for revolution. What do? 600 arrests. Police brutality. What if that happened in any other country? We're worried about the democracy. We're worried about the freedom of people to express their thoughts and opinions and valid opinions. Stop this insanity. We support your people and their right to express themselves freely without fear. They'll say that 24/7. And then there's police brutality against students. And Israel has the audacity to complain as well. Oh, we're shocked about the level of anti-Semitism. To a level where the Jewish students, they started putting banners on their tents. Poor Jewish community in the US. Jewish people here. Oh, we're Jewish. We're Jewish and we support Palestine and we're against Israel. It had to reach this level. In the United States of America, land of the free. And that was what I wanted to talk to you about. Let me open the space up for you now, see if you have any questions or comments, and I'll do my best again to address all of them. Excuse me in advance if I don't. Please do highlight them if you don't mind. Mystic Joy saying, yes, there are arrest warrants on the table. Little Rishi Sunak was called to Parliament today for complicity in genocide. They should arrest all of them. Absolutely, they should arrest everyone. All of them are complicit. What did we forget in the early days when they thought they were invincible and they can get away with everything? They were shutting everyone who tried to criticize Israel's genocide. Oh, no. Every clown of the government. Oh, no. When you talk about Israel exercising its right to defend itself, you cannot consider the people of Gaza, as if you're talking about flies, not human beings. But then it became evident. They tried to hide it. They do hide it. It's not that they try. They do hide it. They still hide it. They still hide it. What are we talking about? Do you see what you see on social media, on mainstream media? You don't. I mean, even social media, you have a problem sometimes, right? I'm sure all of you. They still hide it, but they're complicit and they should be arrested. They should be in prison. Why is it okay for people to do it at a state level, but not at a personal level? If someone commits murder and someone witnessed it, they didn't come forward. When the authorities asked everyone to come forward and the courts find out, you're complicit. Why? You didn't come to the courts. You saw him committing murder. You didn't come forward. You prevented the court from implementing justice. Right? That happens on an individual level, on poor little people. But when it's a state, when it's a genocide, they can somehow get away with it. And say the people of Gaza are collateral damage. But slowly but surely, things are hopefully changing, right? Bit by bit. And the continuous exposure, constantly revealing more things, talking about them. People on the ground, they're losing their lives in Gaza. They're losing their lives. They're being targeted, executed. Not as a passerby or whatever. Israel targets them. They send drones to kill journalists. And they prevent the medical teams, the ambulances from reaching there. That's field execution. 140 so far. And they won't allow foreign media to go into Gaza. Why? Well, because we don't want to let you in. We didn't get the appropriate, we can't, make sure that you're safe there. I want to take the risk. No. We're more worried about you. Worst case scenario, they'll take them for a little Zaya wood spin in this rotten vehicle of theirs. Oh, you tell them, terrorist here, Hamas there. This is what they'll tell them. But actual people going there and delivering that, they won't show anything. Nevada Alpacas Israel equals Matthew 24:15. Quote, disgusting thing that causes destruction, standing in a holy place. Yes, that statement looks accurate. A disgusting thing that causes destruction. To say the least, it's a disgusting thing. Now that's a compliment. The next one. Can you, Imdad Kazim is saying, can you talk about the malfunction of the Iron Dome, Popcorn Dome, Nylon Dome? Nylon Dome is better, Nylon Dome. It's weaker than, okay, Nylon, Popcorn, okay. Popcorn Dome, I'll take your Popcorn Dome. Listen, they targeted the Iron Dome. Hezbollah target the Iron Dome batteries. Hamas target the Iron Dome bases. They have information. That's why in many cases they malfunction. Today, Hezbollah launched missiles, by the way, that I didn't talk about in my previous video. And there were no sirens. There were landings in Kiryat Shmone. There were landings all across next to the Lebanese borders. No sirens. But bang, bang, bang. And Israel won't say anything. What was the bang? Oh, someone has a wedding. As if nothing's happening. And sometimes in major cities like Haifa, for example, bang, you're sitting there, bang. What is this? Oh, nothing. I don't know what it is. I'm not sure. But that's what's happening. It's malfunctioning in many cases. Look, but it's still active. It's not that it's not active. They have several batteries. But clearly it's not protecting them. So it's not an iron dome. It's not a dome and it's not iron. And by the way, you will remember something. Apart from the fact that Israel lies, obviously, and they will cover up and not publish any damage done to batteries or radars of the Iron Dome, when they say intercepted 99%, when they say that, that means the missiles that they intercepted, not the total missiles that landed. So Hezbollah launches 100 missiles. Iron Dome, we intercepted 99%. Out of how many? 20? You have 20 missiles on the Iron Dome. So you targeted 20 to take down. You took down 90. Still 81% landed. Do you understand? But this is how they calculated it. People need to remember, interception to Israel means what it was activated against. They're limited in terms of batteries and how many rockets, and it takes time to put the new missiles again. It's important for you to know that. Nadir Musa, will you discuss the dozens of explosions north around Meroon a few minutes ago? Yeah, this is what I spoke about. You know, constantly you have these attacks in the north. They land. Nothing. Obviously, apart from them attacking the Iron Dome by the Nylon Dome, the missiles that Hezbollah launch at the moment, they're short range. Short range. The Iron Dome isn't really good with short range, like very short range missiles. And the way Hezbollah launched them. That's apart from the fact that they target them. And by the way, apart from the physical targeting, you have cyber targeting. Like what Iran did in their attack. Had a cyber attack on Israel. Catherine Foley, they've known all along that Israel was not acting within international law, in which case, why still send them arms shipments and where are the sanctions on them and the IDF? Thank you. Listen, when the war in Ukraine started, and we sympathize with the people of Ukraine, we sympathize with the oppressed people everywhere. Okay, they want to support Ukraine to defend itself. Disregarding the political analysis and the NATO expansion and America's greed and them wanting to take control over Russia, just let's think that this is the narrative. Okay, let's just take their narrative. Russia committed an act of aggression, as they sell it, against Ukraine. Okay, this is what they sold us. Against Ukrainian territory. A very young country, by the way, just 30 years. Well, when was the Soviet Union? When did it end? 90s. So much Russian influence, history, all of these things. But to them, that's it. They were a nation. They were all of a sudden, oh, hey, Ukraine. Ukraine, everyone sympathize. Flags of Ukraine. Government buildings, churches, everywhere. Ukraine, Ukraine, Ukraine. Half a year ago, Israel was killing Palestinians. You prevented people from speaking about Palestine in schools. What happened? Now you raise money for Ukraine everywhere. What happened? What's the problem? Okay, they support Ukraine with weapons. Support the Palestinian resistance then. I mean, can it be more evident? Someone explain to me. You have the International Court for Justice saying Israel is a genocide state. Now the ICC, they want to have arrest warrants. Then you have countries actually arms exports ban on Israel. Okay? All right. What's happening then? You're admitting that this country is genocidal, they're illegal, they're a regime, they're not legit, and they're committing criminal acts, right? What's the solution? Obviously, stop supporting them. I mean, are you ignorant or what? But if you want to stop supporting them, by the way, and if you want to stop exporting weapons, and that's why I spoke about Ukraine previously, hundreds of billions supported so far. What do you need to do next? You need to support the Palestinian resistance. Number one, by removing the label of them. They're not the bad guys. We know who the bad guys are. And you know why you label the Palestinian resistance as the bad guys. It's because of Zionist pressure on you. And it's because you're a clown and a puppet, bought and purchased, and you're a front. But now everything's getting exposed. Are we going to do the right thing, or are we going to continue supporting this genocide? That isn't succeeding, by the way. Okay, you can't take away the people of Gaza. They're frustrated with the people of Gaza. That's number one. It's like, oh my God, what are these people made of? What kind of faith do these people have? What's wrong with them? We destroy their houses, kill their babies, infants, women, husbands, children. We take out families, mass executions. We torture them to death. What's wrong with them? Why are they still here even? And then you have the Palestinian resistance. Don't underestimate how much of a mess it's making in the Israeli mentality. Them persevering and continuing their fight. But now we're talking about the hypocrisies of Western powers. Are you going to be finally on the right side of history? Can you take a step back and review what you've done? Is it possible for you to do that? And what people are asking for is very similar. Just stop supporting injustice. Do you know what? Don't support justice, okay? Even though that's the moral thing to do. But don't support justice. Just stop supporting injustice. Is that too difficult to ask? The moral position is take military action against Israel. What do you mean? That's what you... Country committing a genocide, coalition, international coalition, send your armies to that country, force them to stop committing acts of genocide. Not a big deal. You've done it before. You've done it with other countries. If we're talking about Western powers. But for some reason you don't want to do it in Palestine. Okay, just stop supporting them. Do you think Israel will survive one day without the support that they're getting? That's why we say the enablers are worse. The enablers are worse than Israel. They know what's happening. They know everything. They legitimize. They cover up. Everyone in the government, in the media, parties, everyone. They know. Trust you, me, they know. But it's money, greed, career politicians, they sold their souls to the devil. They have things against them, being held against them. So the pressure is increasing though, because they know they're next. So will they? Take a step back, review what they've done. Zach is saying, hello, Mahmoud, will these warrants affect a peace deal? No, as a matter of fact, they might push for a peace deal. Israel never conceded or gave in anything unless it was threatened with something. And primarily, power, military force. They occupied Sinai, withdrew after a war. They occupied South Lebanon, they withdrew after war. They occupied Gaza, they withdrew after war. Resistance, resistance, armed resistance, armed resistance, armed resistance. That's what they understand. And they feel like they can act the way they do because they have impunity, because the US vetoes everything. How many things do we have against Israel? If they were implemented, we would have had some sort of a solution, even if it's not a great solution or a 50% or whatever it is. But they couldn't have committed the genocide knowing that there will be implications. And in many cases, they were testing the international community. And no, I'm sorry. Excuse me, I was wrong here. Not the international community. The international community is against them. They were testing their genocidal allies. Their genocidal allies, the US, European states, a couple of other countries. They're genocidal allies. Britain, US, France, a couple of, many EU countries that typically support Israel and follow everything. They're the Zionist ones. So they tested them. And in the beginning, what was the message that Israel got? Yeah, we support you. Fine, no problem. We will cover up everything wrong that you've done. We won't allow people to speak. We will psychologically instill terror in people's minds of supporting what's right, to a level where they got some of the people who defend Palestine petrified. You'll have some people going on these shows claiming to defend Palestine. Look, I condemn Hamas, but what Israel is doing is... Did you fall into the trap of condemning the people who fight for their liberty? What's wrong with you? Don't you see that you're serving the other side by doing that? They fell for it. People who claim to be supporting the right thing, not all of them, but some of them. Oh no, they bought the false narrative. Israel massacred its people. In Re'im, in the Nova Festival, in Nir Oz, how many witness statements do you want me to bring you? How many pilot witness statements confirming that we shot everyone going back to Gaza? We shot at the Nova Festival. They released images. Well, what else do you want me to bring you? Unless you're blind or deaf, then I'm sorry, I can't help anyone. So they bought the narrative and they started condemning the Palestinian resistance. Well, what are you doing? What are you exactly doing? So who's there to defend the Palestinians then? Do they have a national army, for example? Do they have any sort of deterrence apart from the Palestinian resistance? They don't. Then what do you need to do? Support the Palestinian people and support the Palestinian resistance. Simple. But many of them fall for it. Do you understand? Now, if we have arrest warrants, perfect. Israel will know if I give something, they will start saying, look, if I have a peace treaty, if we give them a state, if we do this, can you give me a break or something? Start giving counter offers, especially if there's going to be some sort of enforcement, because it's all about enforcement at the end of the day. Ink on paper doesn't mean jack. It doesn't mean anything. The question is, will it be enforced? If it won't be enforced, Israel will commit 100 more genocides. Rest assured. If it will be enforced, if there's a genuine, substantiated, general attempt to imprison these people, then it will support a peace deal. You see, you need to remember you're not talking with normal people here. Who kills the civilians for fun? Who does that? Is that a normal human being? Who does that? Talking about psychopathic lunatics, they don't understand logic. You have to have action against them. If you have a psychopath roaming in the streets, hitting people, harming them, he'll be sectioned. He'll be in a mental institution. Now, the United States and Israel supporters, but I'll call it the United States. The United States was the warden. That's the big problem. It's not like Israel was in a prison, but this is the example. A psychopathic, violent lunatic who committed massacres and mass murders, locked up in a room. The United States is the warden. Hello, psychopath, here's the key, leave the room. And not just that, I'll give you another key to go and get some weapons, have infinite numbers of weapons flooding from that room over there. And here you go, you have innocent people over there. Feel free. That's what happened. So no, they will affect it positively, not negatively. And that's from Zach. And now, Shad, any news about Ben Gvir's demise? Well, he has broken ribs. Ben Gvir has broken ribs, ladies and gentlemen. If you're concerned about him, you can go send some get well soon messages on X or something to Ben Gvir. His ribs are broken. So he's going to remain in hospital for a few more weeks. Funny enough, there was another accident for an Israeli minister's car today. Ben Haim, his name is. More frequent accidents lately in Israel. But he wasn't injured, his father was. New Quinn 22. I like these interesting notions. Which is the extra country that Muslims can go to if they are in trouble? How about Christians? That's right, there's no country in the world that is established for the benefit of every person of a religion. Exactly. Absolutely. But that just highlights how they're using religion as a front for a neo-colonial racist project. That's what they're using religion for. Israel, in terms of image of Judaism, is the worst thing that happened to Judaism's image in the world. Something that we, by the way, resist because we constantly say they don't represent Judaism. Put religion aside. Similarly to what we do if anyone committed any atrocity in the name of anything else, we wouldn't blame the whole people and their whole religion. That's an interpretation of it or using it as a political tool. But they're doing it with Judaism. And if you're worried about anti-Semitism, or more accurately, anti-Judaism, then look at your actions if you're speaking on behalf of Judaism. And you know, the funny thing is, okay, I'm a Muslim, right? I will never tell you I'm speaking on behalf of Islam. I'll speak some things, some of my religious ideas and thoughts. You might agree with me, you might disagree with me, it's perfectly fine. I would never say that no one has the right to say I speak on behalf of Islam. No one has the right to say that. Speaking on behalf of religion, who are you? I would mislead people if I do so. That's anyone with genuine responsibility, any true scholar, right? Following any genuine, real religion, ideology, right? You can't say that. Why? Because you're limited. No matter how much knowledge you have, no matter where you learn from, how old are you, doesn't matter. You're limited. You're limited with your experience, where you were brought up, the people around you, your level of understanding, all of that. You're limited as a human being. That's why things are open to multiple interpretations sometimes. But here you have a state, a whole state talking on behalf of Judaism. Wow. Well, so some guts you have. Talk about misleading people or doing harm to your religion. Committing atrocities in the name of Judaism. And then if anyone criticizes them, oh, you're against Jews. To a level where Jews have to highlight their, they either the ultra-Orthodox Jews, we see them, we know them by their traditional, clothing. But the poor average Jew, they will have to put a banner or something. I'm Jewish, like they're doing the campuses. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm Jewish and I support Palestine. They have to go the extra mile of not just supporting Palestine, being an average human being, sympathizing with his fellow human beings. He has to say, I'm Jewish too, not in my name. What's causing them to do that? Israel and the mainstream media and governments that support Israel. Talking about anti-Semitism 24/7. It's forcing people who would otherwise just participate and show solidarity in going the extra mile in highlighting. And it's important. It's not that it's not important. It's very important. Because that's the thing. When there's so much misinformation and lies and manipulation, there needs to be a countermeasure taken against it at the level. And obviously, you can't always, in terms of the mainstream media, for example, apart from the fact that they're less and less relevant lately. How many of you boycott them? But to show the people that no, ladies and gentlemen, they don't speak in my name, they have to do that. So the whole notion is ridiculous. And on the security level, it's the least secure place for Jewish people. Most of the Jewish people die where? Where do they die? Prematurely. In Israel. That's the thing. Where did we reach? Shaheen, thank you so much for your super thanks. You said, knowing that organ stealing is well documented, do you think Bibi got a heart instead of hernia operation? I'm not sure what he had, really. But it's very serious, this stealing organs, stealing skin. Oh. Many of the bodies that they found, and Israel deliberately dug very deep, by the way. They dug very deep to have these mass graves in Gaza. And when they took them out, they witnessed atrocities. And that could have been a mass attempt to steal organs or whatever, to use it for the wounded Israeli soldiers. Don't forget that. Why? Because some organs, some body parts, they need to be fresh. In many cases, you need to be not completely clinically dead, depending on the clinically dead definition in each country. Is it brain dead? Is it your heart? That's the worrying thing. So they could have done that on a mass scale. 13,000 missing. I posted a video last night about the recent report for one of the human rights organizations. 13,000 missing. That's apart from the kidnapped in Israel. We don't know what happened to them. They can do it in any given moment. a terrorist from Israel needs a heart transplant or something, they'll go and kill them and give them a heart. That's what can be happening. Sami Muhammad saying, is Biden going to survive this? And what do you think the Muslim Americans going to support the Democrats in the ballot box? Look, I would expand this to more than Muslims. I would expand it firstly to any decent human being witnessing what's happening. Punishing these people politically, really. Well, what else can you do? And you need to get rid of this two-party situation. Same people fund them, ladies and gentlemen. The same people fund the Democrats and the Republicans. Similar in the UK. Donors. Who's donating? Who's funding? Two-party system. What is this? Either bad or worse. And once this is bad and then the other one's bad and then they switch sides from bad to worse. What is this? You should have a real alternative. And that can come through a third alternative, like the case with the US, for example, like Republican. Again, look at the funding. Look at the money. Both Republicans and Democrats committed atrocities globally. Obviously, when it comes to the followers, to the people, you'll see more leniency towards this with the Democrats, more leniency towards that with the Republicans. But when it comes to policy making, what's Joe Biden? A Democrat. What did he do now? Completely open check for Israel to commit a genocide. They supported Israel in their genocide against Gaza faster than they did when they supported Israel during their war with Egypt. Within 2 days, everything was coming to Israel, everything that they need. With Egypt, it took a week. You can say the time or what have you, but just it's important for people to know that. We have a Sami, thank you so much for your super thanks, by the way. I really appreciate it. So we have Kate is saying, what is his Iran red line? Well, Iran just set a new level. They took it up a notch. They put new rules to the game. If you target anything that is linked to our sovereign territory, then there will be retaliation. And if you attack us directly, we will have a tenfold attack back. Hezbollah. You see the underlying understanding, between Hezbollah and Israel always gets stretched and redefined. Okay? Neither side is interested in all-out war. Hezbollah is showing solidarity, but they don't want to drag Lebanon to an all-out war. Israel doesn't really want to engage in a war, but they can't be seen as a side that doesn't retaliate, especially with over 80 to 90,000 people fleeing the northern part of Israel, close to the borders with Lebanon, when they already have a problem to do with demographics across all of the Galilee. Israel has a problem with the Galilee because it's majority Palestinian Arabs, citizens of Israel. And they always encourage people to go and live in the Golan, go live in the Galilee, go, opportunities. So it's an area they're already suffering in. And then you have this. People already said, I'm not going back. I'm never going back, by the way. Those who are willing to go back, they're telling the government, well, show me that you can protect me. Show me that you're doing something with this Hezbollah. Now, Naim Qasim, the Deputy Secretary General of Hezbollah, he warned Israel. He said, we can make stuff that'll make them never come back. So the red lines are constantly stretched between both of them. It's like a dynamic game. So Israel will go deeper into Lebanon. Hezbollah will go deeper into Israel. Israel will target a senior figure. They will target a very important base or target assassination of a command team. But they both don't want to go on an all-out war. Very calculated. So saying that this is the red line, and if that red line is crossed, it's going to completely explode. It's quite tricky with Hezbollah. With Iran, Israel having an attack officially on Iran or what is deemed as Iranian territory. This is what Iran said. This is what Iran said. We set new rules. And so far, Israel, they didn't declare that they attacked them. They're refraining from attacking anything to be deemed as Iranian territories and declaring it. Because Iran is concerned about the international aspect. The UN, look at how they did the attack. Such a clever way, such an intelligent way. Attack, response to an attack on our soil, UN Article 51, we have a right to defend. If they attack us back, and we also attacked only military bases, we didn't target civilians, and if they attack us back, we will retaliate. And they told the UN at the time, from our perspective, it's done deal. Clean cut. This is how countries should operate. But the outlaws of the Wild West, they don't operate this way. They have false flags, they fabricate things, they manipulate people, they mislead, and they go and act like the international bully that was upset and start bashing people to death. That's what they do. Not Iran. A significant thing that they can do with Hezbollah, for example, that will significantly escalate it is hit a really significant hub of Hezbollah. Not that they know where they're true exactly, but let's say the southern suburb of Lebanon, Al-Dahiya al-Janubiyya. That would be deep, and Hezbollah figures and many people dying. Or Israel going on an insane campaign deep into Lebanon, killing masses of civilians. That could severely escalate. So far, they killed civilians and Hezbollah punished them. But it didn't reach to a level of everything breaking out. They're hurting them badly, Hezbollah, by the way. And Israel also, they killed many Hezbollah members. So that they haven't. It's a war. But not like breaking all the tools type war. And going beyond every line or undeclared line or stretching the line too much, that'll snap. Jay Artist, did you see the video of the man kicking a Palestinian flag and the flag won? Yeah, they usually do that, flag ambushes. They had one in 2018 in Gaza that was far worse, by the way. That was recorded. You can go ahead and watch it too. It's baffling, a country afraid of a flag. It always amazed me. Why are people so afraid of a flag? Why are you afraid of colors? Green, white, red, black. Why do they worry you so much? You just had a peace treaty with Emirates. Same colors. It's just that the Palestine is a triangle. They have a bigger sensitivity now with the triangle, by the way. But from a long time ago, it's like they're worried about the flag. Clearly, there's something wrong with you. Clearly, it's the victim telling you, hello, thief, I'm still here. And showing you your dark past in front of your eyes. And dark current state. I'm still here. Thief, hello, we're here. They don't like that. Why? Because, oh my God, he's calling me a thief. No, because they don't exist. Well, if they don't exist, if they never existed, this is the argument. There's no such thing as a Palestinian people. If they never existed, if they never had it, then why are you worried about this flag that they made up? If they didn't exist. Fact of the matter is that flag was there from the way before they came. 1929, you'll see this flag in Jaffa. 20s, you'll see this flag everywhere. Palestine was mentioned thousands of years ago. Obviously, that's something you could talk about for so long. But they're worried about the flag. So they started using the flag as an ambush method. They know they had the flag so much that they want to come and take it down, and they will, risking their life, and they'll go and it'll explode in them. Man versus flag. Flag wins. Miguel Garcia, that's an interesting question. You said, how come the resistance is now who says when and where the Israelis go out in rallies? They publish a prisoner video and all of a sudden everybody's demonstrating. It must be humiliating, feel humiliating. Shows you how powerful the Palestinian resistance is from a physical perspective, from a faith perspective, from a psychological warfare perspective, and how they're defeating the nation of Israel. They'll go and protest. They'll say people go out and protest against your government because these people are at risk. They'll go and protest. And then the Israelis on the other side will get frustrated and call the Israeli protesters Hamas supporters. You're supporting a Hamas. You are serving Sinwar. Why are you doing? But to them, Hamas is doing them a favor. Number one, by showing these people that they have a sign of life, showing their actual state, and them telling Israel what actually happened to them. It's important. Haidar, thank you so much for your super thanks. Said, appreciate all of your solid commentary. Thank you so much for your super thanks. And I'm sorry if I mispronounced this. Wozelwintz. And I'm sorry for the mispronunciation. I'm sure I didn't get that right. You said, do you think there is any chance that Netanyahu, Biden, Sunak, Scholz, etc., will be sentenced to death at the ICC? Now, I don't think to death, because when you talk about international trials, like they stated, and I quoted them, it depends on the jurisdiction that enforces it. So it will only be ink on paper if there is no jurisdiction of enforcement. If there is a jurisdiction of enforcement, then these people can be in prison. They can go to trial. Or they would do whatever they can to avoid going to the country with such jurisdiction. So I hope that clarifies. Rena, thank you so much for your comment. Okay, what else do we have? Looks like we reached the... Have a couple more. Kate said, will withdraw Hezbollah, you mean, redraw the northern border, creating new buffer zone? Do you think the northern will be a ghost town, or will the land be returned to the Lebanese Palestinians? Look, the only few, Lebanon liberated all of their lands officially, you know. Regardless of our comments about all of these borders, by the way, this made-up border, dividing people and nations. But anyway, Hezbollah took most of the Lebanese lands back, South Lebanon. Israel was far off in Lebanon. They were implementing their dream of the greater Israel. Now the conflict is Shib'a farms. With regards to them going into Israel during this escalation to control lands, I don't think that's going to happen now or like very soon, unless something explodes completely. Will it be a ghost town? So they might do that later on. Okay, they have the capacity to do that, and they threatened Israel from 15 years ago that the big fight next time will be in the Galilee. Nasrallah said that in a speech in 2008, I think. And with regards to the northern Israeli settlements being ghost towns, that's very likely because some of them already purchased permanent housing in central Israel. People who are considering to go back, they want reassurance from the government that you will definitely have some sort of agreement with Hezbollah. Some of them want Israel to go and hit them in Lebanon. They're that delusional. Go and hit them in Lebanon. Go, we're on a bigger war. And these pathetic little Golani terrorists, the moment they step 2 steps into the Lebanese borders, there's an ambush. All of them. RIP or casualties. They tried it 3 times now. Hezbollah's waiting. With an ambush under the ground, over the ground, somewhere. They're somewhere. So that's the situation, really. So even if this finishes tomorrow, okay, it will only be a limited number going back. You will not have all of the people going back, because you need to not forget that people left Israel in their millions, the state as a whole, central, not central. They're like, this Jewish state idea is done. Zionism is dead. Rest in peace. Bye. I'm not living here. I'm not keeping my family here. Let alone people who live in the heavy, high tension areas. Like, much of the criticism that the government is receiving is from the people surrounding Gaza. These people always warned the government, look, Hamas is next to us. They're getting stronger and stronger. They can still launch missiles. And you know, in the media, they will call it like small sparkling of rockets, like small showers, light showers of rockets. Tiftuf in Hebrew, they call it. And they used to criticize the media for using this, right, against the rockets launched from Gaza onto, and they've been warning the government, do something, solve the situation, reach a peace deal, or take them down, do something. Up until 7th of October happened. And then they were like, that was the biggest I told you moment. We told you, and, you know, it happened. It happened. Okay. And now, who's going to return? I just quoted a guy yesterday saying there's 5,000 Hamas members in the north, apparently. It's like we knew that already. We knew they're everywhere. But Israel is admitting there's thousands of Hamas members, and Hamas is restructured already over the ground. They could obviously be doing this to prepare the population that, you know, it's impossible to beat these guys and we need to reach a solution after they failed miserably, after they were defeated and humiliated. Who's going to return now? Oh, the promise now that Israel can give them is, we managed to make Hamas incapable of committing another 7th of October. That's what they're saying now. So Hamas doesn't have the capacity to do the 7th of October again. That's the last resort that they can give them. They can't do the 7th of October again. So, but please go back. Right? This is what they're doing. So it's awful. Many of them, that's it. You can forget about it. Listen, I quoted a study for the World Zionist Federation when I was quoting the statistics from Israel about the people leaving. That was back in November. Then they stopped publishing figures. 1 million left. just due to the war within 1 month, apart from the 1.2 million already out, excluding their descendants. That's just in November. Then the World Zionist Federation, they did a poll that was published on Israeli website with the Israeli population living outside of Israel, asking them, how many of you will return to Israel when this war ends? Do you know how many said no? 80%. What does Israel mean without Jewish population? Nothing. They're committing this ethnic cleansing campaign and attempting this genocide in Gaza for demographic purposes. They're already losing demographically for the Palestinians since 2015, by the way. Palestinians are the majority between the Jordan River to the sea. So with them getting rid of the population in Gaza, that will give them demographic superiority up until 2040, 2050. Then they can worry about it again and then commit another genocide. Because they have plans for the West Bank, they have plans for the Palestinian citizens in Israel, they have plans. Let's not forget that. So it's awful. Irene Z, thank you so much for your super thanks. You said, brother, on a personal level, how are you coping with this genocide? Keep on reading Quran, you'll find peace, inshallah. Look, I always read the Quran, alhamdulillah. Try and do it first thing in the morning, the prayer and an exercise. And listen, you look at it from a faith perspective, really. You know, we're believers, we believe in predestination, in Allah's overwhelming, all-encompassing mercy that will sometimes include things that are beyond our comprehension and understanding, our limited comprehension and limited understanding. But nonetheless, part of His mercy. And Islam means submission to God. Show me your submission if you're a true, faithful person. I'm submitting to your will, whatever happens. This is what's pushing the people of Gaza. What do you think? Don't you think that's a massive factor? It's a great factor. And we trust God's judgment. We trust Allah's judgment for the bad or the worse. Right? It's His judgment. And from a faithful perspective, like the narration says, I'm amazed by the situation of the believer. All of the believer's issues are good. Everything is good. Why? If he was met with hardship or suffering or something bad, he's patient. And that's good for him. And if he's met or if he received something good and he was thankful, then that was good for him. So everything is good. Obviously, as human beings, you get upset, you get sad. It's natural, emotional feelings. But in the grand scheme of things, faith is number one. There is no denying, by the way. So I hope that elaborates. Philip EARC Mahmoud, are you invested in the Ukraine situation? To an extent, not too much. And when I try and establish an opinion, I don't go to the news, by the way. I will go to what they're not saying. Because the same people are spreading the lies about Palestine. So I'm not going to go and check what they have to say about Ukraine. No, thank you very much. And that's why they banned Russia Today. The same people who talk to you about freedom of speech. They banned RT. Why? Because they support Russia. Well, why did you ban? You're welcoming the genocide leaders. Why are we banned from seeing RT? Because if they reveal what these people are saying, their populations will know what's happening. And they know that all of what's happening in Ukraine is against their benefit. All of what the US and NATO and any country supporting what's happening in Ukraine, they want to hide as much as possible from their populations what's happening because of the war in Ukraine. Number one, and that's the biggest concern for everyone suffering, struggling from month to month financially, barely breaking even, in debt, right? With their bills doubling and tripling. Energy bills. Why? Because Russia was your main supplier. But the people in power, they had an interest against them. They cut the gas off. The US went and bombed the Nord Stream. Do you understand? Is that for the benefit of the people of Europe? Right? Everyone's paying double, triple, quadruple. Why is it happening? Is it some sort of a miracle? It's because your malicious governments don't work for you. They work against you. But for you to be fooled and support them, they try and create this artificial sympathy. We support Ukraine because we support the people. We show, boo-hoo, we saw how much you support the people. What Israel's done in Gaza is worse than what Russia committed to throughout all this time in Ukraine. Within the time frame, the level of devastation, the targeting of civilians, it's incomparable. But they're siding with Zelensky and Israel. Shows the level of hypocrisy. The financial aspect shows they don't care about their own people. Who's benefiting? Military-industrial complex. That's number one. Many politicians too. What did we forget? How many interests Joe Biden has in Ukraine, and the billions, and his son. You know, when it's someone they don't like, everything's on the headlines. But if he is serving and he is following the orders of the people behind him, no, they'll protect him from everything. Joe Biden can go out, or any of they can go out and commit the worst thing you can think of, and they will be somehow, they'll let them get away with it. Somehow. Because they're serving their purpose. From Quarty 281, how long do you think Israel's control over Western governments has left, with top universities protesting and old neocons dying out? Well, number one, those brave students are just simply showing what education is about. Humanity, standing with humanity. And they're stopping everything to show solidarity with people suffering. That's bigger than any education and any degree you can get with some ink on it from any university. It's your actions, worth more than the degree you're about to get in anything. That's your position. Worth more than that degree, worth more than money, worth more than anything. Clearly, they're losing the grip, slowly but surely. You know, whenever you hear someone going on mainstream media and in the international saying anti-Semitism, that's like their last attempt. They have nothing left. They have no other logical reasoning. Therefore, they reach the anti-Semitism that we all know is a farce. There's no such thing as anti-Semitism in criticizing Israel. They're not Semitic, and I'm criticizing a state, and I'm entitled to criticize that state. That's why I said previously about the Jewish people making a point, don't call it anti-Semitic, I'm Jewish. I'll say I'm Jewish on the... So it's such a noble act, by the way, and I can't tell you how much respect I have for these people. Really, I can't tell you how much respect I have for them. It's them who are driving this change. Okay, so these people, they're driving the change, and people here, and all of these activities, because it's beyond what's happening in Palestine. It's beyond that. It's people in power who have the capacity to commit that, ruling over you. If you need to bring police forces, I mean, what soon we'll have the army or the National Guard coming against students. And again, I just said before, imagine that happened in any other country. And just imagine for a second, imagine this is happening in Iran. I love to give the example of Iran, where if, like I said, if a cat loses a tooth, they would call for a regime change the next day. Imagine there were so many protests in Iran. What would the US say? Whoa, freedom of speech, this regime, this tyrannical regime, they're against this, regardless of your views, right? But I'm saying how the narrative changes. But when it's their own people in their most, the most highly rated top universities in the US, Columbia, MIT, everything, anti-Semitism, 600 arrests. Where's freedom of speech? In the bin. We just temporarily binned it up until we get rid of this, and then we'll bring it back. So they are dying out. The narrative is shifting, but it will only succeed with this continued action. Liba the Great, there was a big piece in The Guardian today celebrating wins by the Azov Brigade, avowed Nazis. They will talk about like Nazism as a bad thing and what have you. And when you have neo-Nazis that serve them, they'll support them. Similarly to how they supported the Mujahideen in Afghanistan when it was the Soviet Union over there. They served them, right? They supported them. Zbigniew Brzezinski, the national advisor at the time, he went to Afghanistan. He went to Afghanistan to meet with who? The same people with turbans and beard that they demonized 20 years later and claimed they were terrorists. He went there to visit them, and he said, your cause is right. You are fighting for God. You are God's men. Go and liberate your mosques and houses from these occupiers. Jihad is big in you. Jihad is big in you. It was suitable for them. So they supported the Mujahideen. Regardless of the fight of the Mujahideen, by the way, how right or wrong it was, I'm not saying that. I'm criticizing the US position. All of a sudden, these Mujahideen are devils. When? After Soviet Union went and they had interest. Oh, no. Al-Qaeda. And everything was then believed to be linked to Al-Qaeda. Believed to be linked to Al-Qaeda. This is a statement that George Bush used to always say, by the way. Everything is believed to be linked to Al-Qaeda. What happened there? We had a strike. Why? Believed to be linked to Al-Qaeda. Nothing, no confirmation, no nothing. Believed to be linked to Al-Qaeda. Everything, they used to say that. So they supported the Mujahideen, they supported Al-Qaeda, they created ISIS, funded them, supported their expansion. Obviously on the sly, they didn't. And now they support neo-Nazis, of course. Listen, all of the history when it comes to World War II, it needs to be revisited, ladies and gentlemen. Well, who supported modern-day America? And weapons and expertise and Nazism. They supported Nazis. What are we talking about? And they're just covering up the fact of that collaboration's link with Zionism, and them getting rid of the Jews in Europe under the pretext of what's happening. They had a problem. They had a problem with the Jewish people in Europe. They wanted a solution. Zionism came, provided them a solution. Jews of Europe, here we go. And they'll support anyone and justify it in any way. Who are we kidding? They will support Satan himself and tell you he's promoting human rights. If Satan came down in a physical form and you saw his horns and he's red and he's out there wreaking havoc, they'll tell you Satan is here to promote civil liberties. Just be quiet. And some people will buy it. So there's nothing surprising of them supporting neo-Nazis in Ukraine. And by the way, some people think that this is manipulation, by the way. They'll fabricate, they'll say it's fabricated. Go and see some of these people in Ukraine, some of these militias. Get about the people. Again, let's people understand that we support every oppressed people. Wow, we're morally consistent. But those fighting and Zelensky, oh. And that was it. And we'll wrap it up there. Okay. Thank you so much, guys, for being with me. I enjoyed my time with you, as usual. Thank you for all of your valuable contributions and for all of your supers, everyone who supported. Thank you so much for this. Thank you to our moderators and everyone who commented. Again, I'm sorry if I couldn't reach all of them. But I appreciate all of you, every single one of you. Thank you so much. And much love to you all. I'll hopefully be with you tomorrow as well. I'm going to most likely publish another video. So stay tuned. Apart from that, have a blessed rest of weekend and night or day, depending on where you are. And I will see you soon in the next video. Take care.